the engine for a 2012 Polaris 800 Assault. This is the piston rings that we just looked at, and they are gapped to 0.015. Is that what it said? Yeah, that one. 0.1015. So these are gapped correctly for the machine. This is our new piston. We had the crank done, our new cylinder in. So now I can put it back together. So this is our piston kit that was sent to us by SP1. The hyperdrive piston kit. They pack it really nicely. The lid unscrews. It's got nice padding. You got your instructions. Got your rings and circlips. Got your wrist pin. And underneath all that, in the packaging, you've got your piston. They've got the heat coating on them to help them work better, not wear as fast. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to gap the piston rings. Which means I have to, so I've got to open up these piston rings and take out all the stuff. Where's my, oh, never mind, there it is. So what I'm looking at to do is I have to take my feeler gauge, find the setting that I want it to be. $13, $15. Now I want these rings to be at least 15 millimeters, or 0.15, is that 0.15? 0.015 millimeters, inches. You sure it says, it says millimeters on there.
On both of them.
Anyways, so we take our piston and we just push the ring into the cylinder, and that's what it's going to be like when it is in there on the piston. So now we take our feeler gauge and we just want to get it, our little gap between the rings. See that little gap right there? I'm going to take our feeler gauge and sneak it in and see how that fits, and it's holding the feeler gauge. That means our thing's at least 0.015. So that'll work. So we didn't have to do anything on that one to shave it down and make the gap bigger. The other one, we take our piston, put in the cylinder, push it down. We can take our feeler gauge, And that one's actually a little bit bigger than the other ones, but it's still good enough that when it heats up, it won't seize the piston in the cylinder. Oh, there's another ring. Those two are good to go. Okay, this is our bottom end with the new crank in it. You just oiled up the rings. And then he lines them up. And puts it on the bottom end. And he's trying to slide the wrist pin through. Not going in.
It's way too tight. There it goes.
And then you got it through the bearing in this. It's all lined up. Now the last thing we have to do is put the circlip in right there. So we cover up the bottom end so no circlip can fall down in there if it bounces out like they tend to do when you're putting them in. Okay, so I got both pistons
Oh my
on.
goodness. Do you care if this star thing is on backwards? Oh, not backwards, but on its side.
It's just an aesthetic, basically, I think. Anyways, this arrow here means it goes towards the exhaust. We had this one on backwards, but we fixed it. So now both are facing this way towards where the exhaust is going to be. The reeds are on. So now we just have to put some oil on these. Make sure it's well lubricated before we put it all back together. We just take a cap and we take the AMSOIL cap and we just fill it with AMSOIL. You just dump it on top of the piston. You want to make sure that it can get all over the piston, onto the rings. Then you can move the rings around. Make sure they get well lubricated.
That goes in the hole.
Yeah, make sure you got oil all over it. You want to get some in the bottom end too, so it's well lubricated for the first time it starts up. But you want to make sure you don't get any inside the antifreeze holes where the antifreeze goes to, the water pump. Now we want to do that to the other one too, so we take our AMSOIL as he steals some from me. Rude.
I got my fingerprints everywhere. If they say you stole it, definitely wasn't me.
Oops. I a little overflowed the cap there a little bit, but not too big of a deal.
I already put some in the bottom end too.
Oh, well, guess what? It's getting more. But just make sure to get it all over the piston, on the rings. Make sure it's going to get well lubricated. The first time when you start it up, it is going to smoke a ton, but that's just because it's burning off all the oil. The most important part is that it's lubricated, because it will not run, engines will not run without lubrication.
Alright, just not for all.
Yeah. It'll blow your top end. Okay, both pistons are in. Got the cylinder, one power valve's on. We're putting the other one on. We're getting the other one fixed up to put it on. This is a cylinder that we just had done by Millennium Technologies out there in Wisconsin. They did a good job, nice and clean. So now what we need to do is put the cylinder on, and we'll do that here in a couple seconds. This is the sled the engine came out of. So we're fixing up the engine to throw it back in. Okay. So we have the cylinder. We have the bottom end, not a cylinder, with the pistons on. So what we want to make sure is we want to get these rings to these spots where they're meant to go, right here, and right there. So they go there and there, and oh, that's not dirty. Okay. Anyways, so that's where they go and they can seat in place. So now we line up all of them. Oh, this is heavy. So what we want to do is you want to take, the easiest way to do this is to have one piston down and the other piston up higher. Then you can just kind of sweep from the back and you picked up the rings. And you want to make sure they close on top of the part where that dowel is, which is why this guy is not working. There we go. So we gotta close those rings, top of it. This one here's gotta close. Oh boy, this is a lot harder. Remember, I have one hand. No, I can do it. What?
Not so much more promising.
Oh, is it starting?
Except for the stack that oh, you were videotaping.
I am videotaping.
Well, I guess I'll just take the dogs so they're out of your way.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna meet your sister. And they look like they're gonna be here a little bit.
Yeah, they will be. They asked me if I had beer.
You had what?
Beer.
Are you serious?
They were kidding.
No, they're not allowed in.
I told them I got Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
$5 to not edit that out.
I won't. They were joking. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. You don't want to need to know everything. Okay, now see, I got this one on. See, cylinder can move with the rings. So that one's good. Now we got to do this one. So, same principles as the last one. Make sure that the rings are lined up with the hole, such as that and that. So those are good. Man, why couldn't we have gotten more blocks? Oh, yeah.
One of the 600s up.
Don't fall. I just paid like $700 for you. Actually, it was more like 800, I think. Because I had to buy the cylinder. And then I had to go get it replated. So now we take and we line up the rings. One of the most important things that you have to not do is you cannot bend the rings. That will let you lose compression and your engine will not run very well. How's that side looking? Why isn't it going on?
Push it a bit more. Okay.
Is it on?
Mm-hmm.
You sure? There you go. Okay, so the cylinder. Ow! Those wire brushes hurt.
Oh, you idiot.
We can cut it and put it on, right?
I pushed it twice. Tried too many times.
Okay, we have a new video. We forgot the gasket. Now we can take the cylinder back off. That was for instructional purposes only.
And it comes off just like that.
We did not forget the gasket on accident. We did this on purpose.
So I could have more
promise.
practice and try not to bend the rings a second time.
Exactly. Why is that bent? Holy crap.
This?
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. That is the gasket. Instead of a paper gasket, I don't know why, but Polaris makes theirs kind of like a metal.
I think this one's metal on mostly.
Yeah, we did not need a gasket. I mean, we could have just put it together.
Sticks out there.
Yeah. Okay, now Sam will demonstrate how to put the cylinder on. Just kidding. Unless you want to, I don't care.
Squeeze it.
So he's putting... Oh, that ring might want to move a little bit. Anyways, he's getting the rings lined up so that this metal can slide over them. I didn't know it then, but this is the time where the ring gets messed up and it ends up costing me a lot more money. So just be very careful, because when you get one ring messed up, it'll put a hole through your cylinder and it'll cost quite a bit of money to fix. So just watch what you do very carefully. It is not fun when you mess it up. Yikes, your finger does not look good. Okay, so we are putting on the O-rings for the head gasket. They're always a pain to stick. O-ring silicone grease. And I just kicked over an impact. Anyways, this stuff holds the O-rings in place. You take this stuff, just take a little bit. You can just kind of put it on the O-ring. So now when you stick it down, didn't put enough on there. Anyways, when you put it down, it should hold in place. Now what Sam is putting on is the other head gasket. This part, so these O-rings keep coolant from going into the piston. But this keeps coolant from coming out of it. So now I have to take and put these cylinder bolts in. Right? That's right. Now you can tell by the corrosion on this that the guy did not use distilled water.
And we don't have to wire brush them because we're too lazy. Well, you go find the torque spec.
So now we are going to wire brush them. We can do the Y pipe while we're at it. Anyways, we're just taking the rust off of them with the wire brush. You might want to let it warm up first. Ah, there it is. Okay. Anyways, on my phone, I have the... I don't know what that... Oh, it's a chair. Oh boy. Now you can see in this, it says F. So now we look over here and it says F is 42 foot-pounds. So make sure we have 42 foot-pounds on those bolts when we stick them in. Okay, so we got the block on and we tightened it to 45 foot-pounds? 42? Yeah. 42 foot-pounds. And now we are putting on the head bolts, which will be torqued 25 foot-pounds. So right now we're working on getting them all in. And then we will tighten them all the way down to 25 foot-pounds. So, yep. Okay, so we got the head on. We've got the thermostat on. We are cleaning the parts for the spark plugs. We have the exhaust here. We took and we wire brushed it down. This is the cylinder. So they can get a sneak peek in there. That is the engine. When he pulls on it, it has compression. Hopefully.
Now there's no spark plugs.
Oh. Anyways, but yep, that's the engine. So it looks good. It's ready to go. Now we just have to put the exhaust on. Then we throw that bad boy in here. We also gotta bleed the oil and hook up the butterflies. Then she'll be ready to put back together. I've also got to hook up my Mountain Tech tunnel cooler that is installed. I just got to hook this hose up and cut it to fit.
Exhaust goes up.
So we had to put the gasket on. You did put that on, right?
No.
We've had a very bad track record today.
We don't need a gasket.
Got that on. Come over here to my parts bin, also known as my dad's snow machine bin. He doesn't need most of this stuff to get his snow machine running. They're only the essentials. Look what I got.
I want to use a gun.
Freshly stolen.
I gotta spend 2 years doing this.
Oh yeah, but that's your problem. We'll be back in 2 years when he figures that out. We used SP1 for this rebuild, and the brand we went with for the gaskets was Window Rosa. This is the temp sensor. Guess what? You're never gonna guess. It tells you what the temperature is, as the camera shows up. But it's still recording. It's always recording.
I'm gonna do all this and have to take it back off because it's not gonna fit.
Because you forgot the gasket?
Okay, it's not gonna fit when I try to stick it in.
Oh yeah, I'm afraid of. So what we've got here is your good old-fashioned mechanic. Although he doesn't know electrical things, so we gotta figure that one out. Needs to go to school and learn. So what I'm doing now is this was a little bit of stuff on it, so I'm just wire brushing it, making it look better. Okay.
When you're editing this, you're just gonna voice over this whole thing, aren't you?
No, that's too much work. Hey guys, this is Aiden with the Boys Customs. I'm here to let you know that building engines, it's an art, okay? And if you do one thing wrong, it could cost you a lot of money. Now, I'm gonna, in this video, we're talking about this 2012 Polaris RMK Assault. Now, what I did on this engine, as you will see in the video, we bent a piston ring. Now, I was taking a shortcut, I was impatient, I'd waited forever, and that piston ring ended up totaling the cylinder that I had just put $800 into. Now I'm stuck buying another cylinder, and it's no one's fault but my own. And because I took shortcuts, it cost me a lot of money, and shortcuts are just not worth it. I also took a shortcut on this crankcase. So as you can see right here, there are these oiling ports. And what these things do is they allow oil to go into the crank, and they lubricate the crank blades. Now what I did that was bad, that I'm gonna make sure I don't do this time, so it doesn't spend more of my money to fix this sled. What happened is I bled the oil to the oil pump, which is good, you're supposed to. But you're also supposed to bleed it from the oil pump to the crankcase. And since I didn't do that, since I missed that step, the crank did not get oiled on that one side, and it blew the crank up. And it locked up on a 4-day trip, and it ruined that whole trip for me. So just, you gotta make sure you pay attention to what you're doing, and you don't take any shortcuts. because that one shortcut could cost you thousands of dollars. But I'm going to be rebuilding this engine, and I'm doing it the right way this time so that it will last long and it'll be ready to go for this season. But I hope you guys liked the video.